What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr. We're back. We're back for another episode of the Author Showcase brought to you by the National Black Unity News newspaper. The National Black Unity newspaper, the number one, I'm gonna say it, the number one newspaper in the community, for the community, about the community across the country, where we bring you those topics, those conversations, those articles that aren't readily talked about in mainstream media. We're going to talk about there. That's what we do at the National Black Unity News. You can go and you can subscribe to our website, or you can subscribe to the newspaper at our website, www.tnbun.com, and get the latest issue of the paper. You can have it delivered right to your door. It's a quarterly newspaper. Trust me, you will not be disappointed in what the features that we have, the topics that are talked about, the editors that do the writing for the newspaper. You will certainly be pleased. You will definitely get information, knowledge, and resources that is not readily talked about, and that is not readily seen or heard. But that's why we do what we do, because we want to bring you those particular things. And today is no different than any other day. It's the Author Showcase, which is where we bring you some of the nation, some of the countries. I call them phenomenal writers, authors, entrepreneurs. They have different dynamics to them. It's more than just their books that they have, but they are on the Author Showcase to talk to you about their books, but their mission, their message, the movement, and motivation. We just want to give you kind of an insider's account of some of these just great authors that we bring to you in the showcase. So today is going to be no different than any other day or any other time that we have. And we have another phenomenal author that we're going to have a conversation with. And I know I always say this, but I truly do mean it. These conversations with authors teaches me something each and every time that I have these conversations, because I learn so much more about them, but I also learn about writing, I learn about publishing, and all of those things that come along with this particular industry. So this is no different, and we're just pleased. I'm pleased to have this platform to be able to come and have a conversation with such great people. And influential people, and just people that have a passion for books, but also have a passion for the community as well too. So today, I want to welcome, and I was messing with him before we came on, because I was telling him I read the overview of the book, and I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I certainly am. It's on my readers list this year, because and his name is Brother James Tyler. James, my goal is to read 30 books this year. So, yeah, because they say, and that's why I say, this is why I say this, because I remember listening to this brother. His name was Jay Morrison. He said, if you read 20 pages a day, you will have read an average of 30 books in a year. 20 pages a day, and 365 days, you will have read an average of 30 books. So
that's pretty, yeah. And when you think about it, 20 pages, that's very doable.
It's very, exactly. It breaks it down into doable bite-sized pieces, because 20 pages may take you at most an hour. Let's say an hour.
Right.
That's you work out for an hour, 30 minutes. You have all of these things that you part in your life. That can be a part of that. And they said the average person only reads one book a year. So can you imagine you reading 30 books versus somebody only reading one? How much knowledge, moral knowledge you're gaining over the average person? It's deep. It was deep.
Exactly. That's power. Yes.
Yeah, certainly, man. So welcome to the Author Showcase, man.
Thank you for having me.
Taking time out of your busy schedule to come and talk with us. Just a little bit about your book, about all the great things that you have going on and everything like that. Why don't you start off just by telling the people just a little bit about who you are, who James Tyler is, and a little bit about what you do.
Okay. So first of all, I'm a child of God. I am an author. I'm a blogger. I am a mentor. I do a little teaching. Pretty much, I'm just all about spreading um, positive images, positive Black images more so than anything, but more so positive images. I believe it's what I was put here for, and I believe I was given the gift of creativity and the gift of writing to enhance just the human image as a whole.
Wow, wow, that's awesome, man. That's awesome, man. So let's start off our conversation. Um, by I want to start it off by asking you this because you said you do multiple types of writing. What got you started in writing? What was that something that you always wanted to do, or that you did, or was that something that you just kind of grew into?
I think I always had the gift, but I didn't know that. I'll say it that way. I was a very imaginative child.
Okay.
Um, Always, like I just, I think I saw the world differently than most people, even when my earliest memories. But as far as writing in itself, I didn't get into writing until my fifth grade year. My
Okay.
teacher, Miss Dorothy Bell, she was to this day is my favorite teacher. I hope that she
Wow.
sees this or has seen something.
I love that. I
But
love
yes,
that, man.
she yeah, she challenged us to write one story a month. The entire class,
Oh.
we had to write one story every month.
Mm.
And just like the other kids, I did not want to do it. I thought it was. I'm like, I don't want to do this. And everyone, we all was the same. So I wrote the first story. I didn't think much of it, and she chose me as one of the few people who had to get up in front of the class and read the story.
Okay.
I read I read my story to the class, and they all loved it, and it surprised me because for me it was something I really didn't want to do,
Mhm.
and I didn't have any interest, but the positive reaction kind of surprised me, and so I took it home and I showed my mom, and she loved it.
Okay.
Then she took it to work with her and started showing all of her coworkers, and they were in disbelief that a 10-year-old wrote the story.
Okay.
Um, so for all of that feedback started to fulfill me because I was already imaginative. I already used to like my favorite cartoon was Thundercats as a child.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And back then we didn't have streaming. So cartoons came on Saturday mornings,
Yep.
specifically. So during the week I had to entertain myself and I would literally like make up episodes of Thundercats and act them
Oh
out while
wow.
walking around my grandmother's tree. Yeah. And so I was already doing it. I just didn't see it that way. And so once I started getting all of that feedback, then I started to love it. Like literally every month when we wrote a story, I'm writing them. I wrote a whole series, and it just became my thing. I think that's when I stepped into my own as a kid because I didn't I didn't realize what made me special until I found that
Oh wow. I like that. I like that. I like that. And
gift.
see, I think that I guess teachers they never know, and I love what you talked about your teacher. They never know what it is that will trigger a kid to move forward in something. And I love that you talked about your
Yes,
teacher took a notice in you and your writing, you know,
yes,
and she fed into that. Um,
yes.
and I know I have my favorite teacher. I call her my second mother, which she is, Miss
Yes.
Raven. She was my, but hers, she was my Algebra 1, Algebra 2 teacher. I couldn't stand that.
Oh wow.
I couldn't stand that, man. I
Yes.
used to, but here's what she did. Like your
Uh-huh.
teacher, she would pick on me to come and
Uh-huh.
I was like, Miss Ray, why are you always picking on me and everything like that and stuff? And I would stay after class and I'd clean the boards and everything like that. And I didn't live
Yeah.
far from her, but she
Right.
would drive me home. And
Oh
it was in
wow.
those times that I got lessons. She would talk to me about certain things. She got me.
Yeah.
She got me into the Upward Brown program and everything
I
like
was in
that.
the Upper Bound
Were
program.
you? Oh, wow. Oh, yeah.
Yes, yes,
Man. Yeah.
yeah.
And I absolutely loved her for that because she took
Yeah,
an interest in me and pulled out of
right.
me that young boy
Right.
who didn't know nothing
Yes,
and was
yes.
just like you said, you're that little kid and you have things that you're interested in or whatever, but you don't,
Hmm.
I mean,
You
me, I was
don't know it
quiet.
yet.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
was that quiet kid. I didn't,
Yeah,
wasn't, all of those things, but she nurtured what was inside
yes,
of me and everything like that.
yes.
Always pushed me to be more. That was the thing. She
Hmm.
always pushed me to be greater than what I was. And she always taught me about that,
Right.
about
Yeah,
being better, being, you can
yes.
always do better, doing better. And what came with that and everything, especially about being a young Black male, you know.
Hmm.
So you have those teachers like that. I think a
Yes.
lot of I think we've lost that, to be honest with you. We've lost
Yeah.
those kinds of teachers
Uh-huh.
that really
Yeah,
took
because
an
I think,
interest. Mhm.
yeah, people don't realize the value of caring, especially when
Yeah.
it comes to children. Like if children know you care about them, you get a completely different attitude. If they
Woo.
sense that you don't care,
Yep.
that's a lot of times is where a lot of problems come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they can, like you said, they feel that energy. They can tell
Yes.
somebody who
Mm-hmm.
cares, somebody who is
Yep.
taking an interest in them, someone who is, and they'll cling to you. They will,
Yes.
they will
Yes.
cling to you because it's their hunger that we have
Right.
for that love that they give us and everything like that. So I'm glad you
Right.
mentioned that.
Yeah.
And now that was the trigger that got you um, into writing. What was it
Yes.
that made you start to think that you could take that what you had there and actually begin to write books? Was it back
So
then or was it later on that you decided?
much later.
Mm,
Much later on. I
okay.
think okay. So once I during that when that happened, I started writing a lot.
Okay.
Even beyond my fifth grade year, it became my thing. But I would always write poetry and short stories. I
Ah,
never could write a novel
okay.
because novels are a whole nother beast. Like
Yep.
they take a very long time and they take a lot of commitment. Um, and so I'd never done it before. As I started to get older, my adult years, I started to try it because as I grew into my gift, of course the next step was I wanted books on shelves. Um, so as I got older, I started to try it, but I could never finish because, like I
Mm,
said, it takes such a commitment. Like you can write a book for a year, months to a year to years, depending on your process.
right. Right.
Um,
Right.
and so I would start, and sometimes I would get a few chapters in, but I could never finish it.
Mm,
And it wasn't until, which is what's wild. One day my mom called me and we talked, and she was like, Jay, it's time to write your book. And I was like, okay. And so I got off the phone with her. Um, and I don't know if I started instantly right there, but
mm.
literally I started writing what became my first novel.
Okay.
And I finished it within, I think, 7, 8 months.
Okay.
And it was a moment because, like I said, I tried it many times before, but
Sure.
something about when my mom spoke that into me, yeah, I did it.
Now, was it that did you want to start? Well, you started with the novel,
Hmm.
because you said you wrote poetry and short poems, and I write poetry too, so I'm right there with
Yeah,
you.
I love
Because my
poetry.
my first two books were books of poetry.
Oh,
So
really? Yeah.
yeah, I wrote because and the thing was the funny thing was I'd had them because I wrote when I was in college. I started writing poetry when I was in college just to
Oh,
write, just to get
yeah.
stuff out of my head, just the way that I was feeling about stuff like that. And it
Same
wasn't
here.
until,
Therapy.
I showed it to some folks and stuff. And they were like, well, you should write a book. And I put this in a
Yeah.
book. And like you, I'm like, man, I don't know. I don't know if I can do
Exactly.
that. You know what I'm saying? But um,
Exactly.
I leaned on God and like, look, all right, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, then show me what it is that I need to do, how I need to go about doing that. But I
Right.
say that to say, you said that the novel, like you said, that's a heavy thing to make it your first one out the gate. Was
Yes.
you didn't? Was there any point that why was it the novel that you wanted to write versus the book of poetry or the short story book?
Um, so I have um I have tablets of poetry still to this day
Yeah,
that I
okay,
wrote when I was a child.
okay,
Um, so I get anxiety around sharing my poetry. Sometimes I'm much better at it now. Like
okay, okay.
I post them, I post my poems now. But especially in my younger years, I got a lot of anxiety around sharing my poetry,
Uh-huh.
um, because they were uh, they were from my childhood as I'm going through adolescence and very like personal
Right.
moments. Um, so I think for me, I think that's why poetry was not the first step.
Got you.
I do
Got you.
want to publish my poetry someday, though. That
Okay.
is something I want to do.
Okay.
And I probably, knowing me, I probably will
Yeah.
eventually.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
No.
I think with the novel, my writing started with stories.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Mhm.
and then I'm like I said, I'm very imaginative. I love creating stories. It's fun for me. And so I think it was a natural first step for me because it was where I started. So
Mhm.
literally with my presentation to the world, that's how I wanted to, you know, unveil J.E. Tyler
I
as
love it. I
as an
love it. I love it. Now let me ask you this:
author.
what would be the because you've written and as we'll talk about a little more, you've written in several genres. So what
Yes.
would be the one word if you had to describe your writing style? What would that one word be for?
Um, Heartfelt,
Mm,
heartfelt for sure.
mm,
I think even throughout the separate genres, heartfelt and human connection.
I like that. I
Um,
like that.
yes, that I always try to keep, whether it be family, friendships, um, just anything. In any story from J.E. Tyler, you're really going to see a strong connection of characters. You're going to see heartfelt journey because I'm a very my zodiac sign is Cancer. I'm
Okay.
very emotional, so I I do inject that into my writing in heavy doses, because I feel like that's what connects us all. We're all emotional beings, and for that relatability piece, I feel like if I inject my genuine emotion into the work, someone else is going to be affected by that. They'll be impacted by it, and it just makes for a much more enjoyable experience.
I like that. I like that heartfelt. That's deep, man. That's deep. Now tell me um what made you want to write that dance we do? Because that's the book that you have here. What was it that brought you to writing this particular this novel, man?
So to be 100% honest, I had, I think by the time I wrote that dance we do, I'd already written my first two books.
Okay, okay, okay.
Um, so literally at that point, so I since I have them here with me, so I started off with science fiction, REG Aftermath. This is my very first book.
Okay.
And then from
Oh,
here,
cool.
I went to the fan favorite, Rumor Daughter of Lies.
Okay, okay.
Um, and so
Those
by
ain't no
that point,
small books, bro.
no, 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 yeah, hey,
That's a real
yes,
writing right there.
yeah, yes, it's serious wordage in
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
but I think what and by going back to that, it's yes, like it's a lot of content, so
Mhm.
it takes time.
Yeah.
And so the first book came out. I think I released it in 2012, and then the next one was 2013.
Okay.
So I wanted to continue releasing because that was my strategy. I'm going to hit them
Mhm.
every year.
Okay.
Um, but I didn't want to rush into the next book, but I
Mhm.
felt like I needed to drop something. And so I wrote That Dance We Do. Now, as you can see, That Dance We Do is a lot shorter of a story than the others,
Mhm.
but it's a very good story, a very good story, and it's my only love story, and that's
Okay.
that's what brought me to want to write That Dance We Do. I wanted to write a love story,
Okay.
and it's comedic as well. So I wanted to write love story, and I wanted to use humor, which was something I had never done before. Um, And if I say so myself, and I've had pretty good feedback, I think I've successfully accomplished
Absolutely. Now tell us a little bit about the book. Tell us what the
it.
story is about that dance we did.
Yes, so that dance we do is about a group of friends, a group of male friends. It gives you that male perspective. One thing I've noticed is a lot of readers, especially avid fiction readers, are women.
Okay.
And so this book takes you into the mind of some types of men. But it has a very great story, a great message to it because um, you have these different types of men. They're all very different. And
Mhm.
they use what they feel to be special about themselves in their interactions with women, which hence the title,
Okay.
that back and forth that men and women do.
Oh,
Um, right. So basically, the what the story leads to is just to the the power of being yourself, the
mm,
power of being an individual. There's no one definition of manhood. There's no one definition of what makes a man, what makes an attractive man. Is just basically just be yourself, be authentic, and you'll see that play out throughout the story in a very humorous and romantic way.
and I like that. I like the way that you put that. And even with the topic that you kind of delve into there, and it's actually, if you to me, it's kind of very appropriate for this day and time. If you know
Yes,
when the relationship thing between men and women, and
right.
even when you get into, like you said, you know, these are brothers that are friends with each other. They have a
Yes,
friendship with each other and
yeah, they're
everything like that.
all friends for many years. They meet up regularly at this coffee house.
Okay, okay.
And they get around the same table every time they meet up and they discuss their experiences with dating. And so yeah, that's where it becomes it's because you get it from each of their perspective.
Okay.
And so that's where a lot of the humor comes in because you know how it is when we all get together and we talk with friends. You know, you just let loose and you speak comfortably, and
Right.
it's very
So
funny.
that's cool. Now, what kind of response have you gotten from writing a, like you said, it's a romantic comedy type of book from a
Yes,
male perspective? How? Because that's
yes,
different.
yes,
That's actually
exactly,
very different, man.
exactly. And I think I took that route on purpose because, like I
Okay.
said, with my first book, I just wrote a book. I didn't know anything about the marketing side of things.
Right.
I think as I got out there to promote my first book, I started realizing from speaking to people, prospective customers and things, what people are looking for.
Okay.
Um, and so one thing I wanted to do, I wanted to write romance, but I wanted to do it a little bit different because I have noticed that a lot of fiction readers are women.
Mhm.
And one thing I hear from women a lot is, I want to hear that male perspective. Like,
Mm,
I want to get
mm.
inside your heads, like what goes on with you all. And, so that's why this book was a natural next step for me.
Oh, and I like that because, like you said, this isn't it isn't a genre that we often hear from. And I have a friend of mine. He wrote a it's a suspense thriller, and he said
Mm,
when he was doing his research, he said he found that there weren't many black male authors
right,
in that genre. And he was saying there
right.
were, it was like, it was very few. I think he said he could count them on his one hand, how many
Yep,
there were in that. Can
yep.
you talk a little bit about, and I want you to give a
Hmm.
perspective for those authors or aspiring authors that are out there. You're talking about when
Hmm.
you went out to promote your book, the
Yes,
lessons that you learned because you were new to the industry. Can you talk about the knowledge that you gained by being out there, what you were able to gather from that? Because that's important that you
yes,
listen to what your target audience is telling you,
yes,
and everything like that.
yes. Oh, it was so much. It was so much. So with promoting my first novel, I learned a lot because so my first novel is science fiction. It's more
Mhm.
speculative fiction,
Mhm.
which that at the time that was a little bit more difficult. I think now the floodgates have kind of opened on that genre.
Okay.
Because of, film. You see a lot of superhero comic
Mm-hmm.
book fantasy type films and things of that nature now. Back then it wasn't so much that way. Black people, I think we were put into a box, and we,
Right.
for the most part, kind of accepted that box.
Mm-hmm.
um, so one thing I learned, from going out there, um, relatability is key. When you're writing out your characters, you want to make sure you always keep in mind relatability. It gives you a marketing tool, because the way you capture people, um, we're human. So the number one topic that interests us normally is ourself.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's just a
Mm-hmm.
human thing. It's nothing to be to negative about. Um, but if you can the best way to pull people is something that reflects them. So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm talking to you, just having regular conversation, and I'm able to say, oh, and you tell me something about you, and I'm like, oh, that reminds me of Terrell from my book. And you're like, oh yeah, oh, he did that. He had the same situation. Now they want to read,
Right.
now
Exactly.
because they yes, they feel like they can relate, they feel like they're in the book, so now it makes it a lot easier for them to become engulfed in the story. So that was one of the first things I learned. um, I learned about, okay, one of the biggest things I learned, my name. So I didn't think anything of it when I
Mm-hmm.
published my first novel. On the cover, um, it says James Tyler Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Um, on the inside page, it says James E. Tyler Jr.
Okay. Okay.
And then I think I used my name differently somewhere else in the book. And so
Mm-hmm.
one of my customers pointed that out to me,
Mm-hmm.
very, very intelligently. And I'm very grateful to that to this day, because it helped me with branding, something I hadn't considered because I hadn't thought of marketing at all.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Um, so from that point on, all of my other books, one thing you'll notice, I go by J.E. Tyler. And I
Mm-hmm.
consistently use that name throughout all marketing, everything inside the books.
Yeah.
That is my pen name. And it helps to keep that consistent, and it helps to for your fan base to be able to find you. Um, and like the brand. So now J.E. Tyler is the brand. So one thing I've noticed is if you read one J.E. Tyler book and you enjoy it, now you're gonna look for J.E. Tyler, so you can find him anywhere. So I just had to find that brand consistency. Um, I'm trying to think. That was so much. Oh, the cover art.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one thing I learned, you want it to pop, because if you're on the shelf, you're amongst a lot of books,
Yep.
and it's real easy to get lost in the sea
It
of
is.
yes.
Yep.
so so that was one thing. So as you can see, the cover, although brilliantly, I love the art. It's very dark, and
Uh-huh.
it wasn't
Okay.
even intended to be this dark. One thing I
Okay.
learned too is when you print, you have to be very careful because it comes out a little darker
Yeah.
than what your digital image is.
Right.
So
Right.
you want to be careful of that. So from there, I went a lot brighter, you know, on purpose,
Mm-hmm.
just to attract eyes and give,
Right.
something that'll pull you in. So just little stuff like that.
That's some great tips because people
Yeah.
and I hope authors that are listening recognize what he just dropped some serious game on you all about color and about what you learn because colors matter and I learned that from one of my marketing consultants. She talks
Yes.
specifically about using certain colors, and it's something that we don't even necessarily think about when you go
Don't
into
even think about
a restaurant. The
it. Yep.
color scheme and all of that.
Exactly.
It's the
Hmm.
same thing when it comes to your books and how they stand out. If they, like you said, if something has a dark imagery to it,
Yes.
it's the energy that your cover comes off to
Yes.
from your book. And I was talking, we
Right.
were talking about that. Yes, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday. Um, we were talking about. Yeah, matter of fact, it was yesterday. We were talking about the editing process, but then all of those things that go along with that as being a writer. And we were talking
Yes.
about using certain colors and what
Yes.
certain colors say to a, to a reader or to someone, like you said, that's coming in a bookstore and is looking on a shelf. They're looking on the shelf, and so there's certain things that are going to stand out to them. There's certain things that be like, oh, I said, because the first place that a potential customer looks at is that front cover.
Yep.
They go to the front cover.
Sure
Then
do.
if they're interested, they'll go to the back cover.
Yep.
They want to read to see what's, what the story is about, if you have it there. And then they'll go to the inside to maybe read a little more and everything like that. So that's very important when it comes to grabbing someone's attention or grabbing a potential reader's attention, is that you pay attention to those things. And actually, like you said, when you think about it, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to branding, because colors do matter. And if you notice, a McDonald's, an Amazon, they use certain colors for a reason, because they have behind each of them. So as a brand, as an author, as an entrepreneur, as a brand, you must think about the colors that you have. If your brand is a certain, has a certain color theme to it, you got to be consistent, as you said. You want to be consistent with using it, and especially if you have a book that is that you want, that evokes a certain type of a message. That color should tie into that message that you have. Like you said, you may have a book that has I won't say a dark thing to it, where the imagery would be, that kind of darkness would be appropriate. But then when you have other ones, like you were saying, you went to I know you have one that's purple, you have the red. Those are vibrant, bright colors that people that people are going to pay attention to.
Yes, eyes automatically gravitate.
They're going to grab to them. So, and I like what you were talking about as far as the characters being able to relate. When you were writing these particular, when you were creating these particular characters, did you do that with in mind, that you knew that the characters that you were creating, you wanted them to be able to relate to certain types of people, or that they would relate to certain type of people?
Yes, especially with the Rumor series. So when it came to Rumor Daughter of Lies, that was definitely the key. I went into that strategically, thinking of my own upbringing, thinking of different experiences from my own past, or different experiences from my friends or family or everything else. And I started thinking of those characters throughout my life that have like stood out to me the most, the characters that are most intriguing, that you think about a lot. And, one thing I've noticed is that, especially amongst Black households, we have a lot of cultural personas that in common within our stories. And so I wanted to kind of highlight a lot of those, that matriarch, that very tough, wise talking matriarch, that sibling or that cousin that always picks on you, but won't let anybody else pick on you. They tough, they play no games. The kind of cool sibling or the cool cousin, the one that you look up to and you just admire. They just, I think we just have all of these different, and a lot of times that's what we helps us to gravitate towards each other, those experiences. So I wanted to capture those in a story. I wanted to capture those in a book. And so, yes, it was very strategic. And for those who've read it, it seems like I accomplished it, because this one I get really great feedback on. Really great.
Okay. Now, what's the premise of that book? The story behind it, the story for that.
So that's this Rumor Daughter of Lies. So basically, it's about a 10-year-old girl who has to pretty much grow into young womanhood. But her vision of a woman has always been her mother, who she actually knows very little about, because her mother disappeared when she was only 4 years old. But she has this image of what she remembers her mother to be. And through neighborhood gossip, she learns that image is false. And so now it makes her journey just that much more difficult. And so there's a lot of drama and a lot of things that come out about because of it as she goes into her journey of trying to discover who she is without having that image to rely on.
Wow, man, these books sound like movies, brother. They
I'm
sound, they sound like movies, man. I'm liking, I'm
thank,
liking that. That's
thank
cool.
you.
Yeah. Now, have you ever thought about your books, your books being made into a possible
Yes,
movie?
yes, all the time.
Really? Okay.
Even yes. So my first novel, the very first one, the opening sequence in this novel,
Mhm.
every time I get that feedback consistently when people read it, yo, this sounds like a movie. And so because it's very intense, very
Okay.
action packed, very um you can as you read it, it's hard not to envision
Mhm.
what is happening.
Yeah.
So mhm.
No, that's to me, that's the sign of a great reader. I mean, of a great writer. Someone who
Thank
can
you.
actually put you with their words into the place that you're trying to take them. That is
Thank you.
absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's definitely what I aim to do.
Okay.
I think as I'm growing in my journey, I get even better with it
Mhm.
because it's I'm learning that there's a lot that goes into it. Even so the word choice, because okay, you can say big and okay, that's a word you can use. It's very much a word you can use, but you can also say tremendous. You know what I'm saying? Certain words, if you for the mood that you're trying to go for, depending on the mood, they pack a certain powerful punch as
Mhm.
far as placing that and then the use of imagery and shadows and even the rhythm of how the words are carried out within the sentence. There's a certain rhythm that you can capture that'll instantly put people in a certain mood that you want them to be in. And from first book to what I'm writing now is like literally I even see the growth. So yeah.
Wow. All right. And you just made me think of another question. But I'm gonna go to
Uh,
this one first.
Okay.
The in the book that dance you do, which
Mhm.
character is you? Which one is you?
Uh, so the character that is me for um I think I'll say the character that is closest
To
to
me.
me.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Um the character that is closest to me for sure is uh bear with me because I have forgotten his name.
No, no
Uh
problem. No problem.
oh, okay. But it's pretty much the character who Jeremy, thank you, Jeremy.
Okay.
So Jeremy is the character who I think is the closest to me because
Mhm.
Jeremy's arc in the book is he's the outside. So he's okay. He's in this friend group. All of his friends are um, they're popular with women. They're very attractive in their own way.
Mhm.
Um, they all are confident. Um, just they're the standard in a way.
Mhm.
Jeremy is more also on the outskirts. He's very shy. He's very
Mm.
quiet. He's very withdrawn within himself.
Okay.
Um, and what the thing that happens in the book is they come together and they tell these stories, but Jeremy never has a story to tell.
Mm. Okay. Okay. Okay.
So literally as they're going through their stories, um, Jeremy has an encounter, which creates his own story.
Mm.
And you kind of see through that, you see him come into his own and really learn what makes him special, even amongst these very strong personalities that
Okay.
are his friends. And you learn that, even though it doesn't seem like he has anything that's special or attractive about him, really and truly, who he is and the way he comes off is really very powerful in this dance that we do call love. And that's brought home in the pages.
I
But
like
yeah,
that.
I think he's closest to me. I'm
To
not
you.
exactly like Jeremy,
Right.
but yeah.
Now, what do you want the reader, or is there a what do you want the reader to come away with, or is there something that you want the reader to come away with when they read any of your novels, not just any of your books, and not just the dance we do.
Yes. So I say the number one thing I want people to come away from when they read my books is just the love of your fellow human beings, love of your fellow human beings, and I just want love, and I want that image of Black people
Mm,
to be able to be one of positive imagery, to be able to be heroic, brave, courageous, loving, and all those great things that we don't always get to embody within media. Um, I mean, throughout all the stories, like the first book, the science fiction one, is two brothers, one, the older brother, who is doing everything within his power to get to his younger brother. It's
mm,
literally about sacrifice on so many levels for the love of one brother to another. You got Rumor. It's basically about a girl coming into her own within her own family and trying to reconcile the secrets and the lies and the gossip, while coming into her own, but really also gaining an appreciation for not just the image of her family, but the truth of who they are and loving them for who they are. Um, and then when you have my children's book, Little Angels, this pretty much is a little girl who wants a family. She just
okay.
wants family. She wants that connection. So she aims for that, and she literally has a very magical
Nice.
experience. Yes, while coming into that. So it's all, you can see that common theme exists in all of my books. So
Mhm.
even though they're separate genres, I do have a theme that I like to push. I say.
I like that. I like that, man. That is actually
I,
that's awesome. That is awesome. Now I'm asking you this: what does the title, that dance we do mean to you? When you think about that title, what does that mean
yeah, we see it every day, especially in the age of social media.
to you?
Um, if
Yes,
you even
true. Very
if
true.
yes, even if you think of, God bless his soul, rest in peace, Kevin Samuel. The movement that he embodied, the movement that he represented on behalf of 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 certain men, I'll say, I think it that in itself just shows that men and women, um, especially within our culture, Black men and women, it's just like
Mhm.
everyone's out here trying to get in where they fit in, and it's
Right.
like it creates this. But I think that's the thing. We have this back and forth that we do. No, if I do this, they'll do this, and if I do this, they'll do this, or they should do this, or why aren't you doing this, and blah blah blah, and all of this, and it's all these little tactics that we come up with in order to triumph over another person. This game of love, um, and it's just a dance. It's a back and forth. It's a
Mhm.
tango. Like you take one step forward, I take one step back. I spin. It's literally a dance, and so that's the equivalence of the title. It's literally that dance that we all do. I don't care who you are. To. Everybody has a desire on some level to have love at least one point in their life, and I think so. It's a dance that whether we want to or not, we all participate in.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love it. Now, with you being a Christian writer, was there was it difficult for you to write, this particular love story? The other ones I can imagine were easy, but when
Yes.
you get, you know how Christian folks can be. You got to be careful. It can't have no curse words in it, and it
Mhm.
can't be too
Mhm.
this, and that sex scene he wrote was a little bit too, too much. Did you find that difficult trying to tote that line as far as being a Christian writer and writing a Christian romantic story?
Not really. Okay, so I will say, um, so I consider myself to be more spiritual than anything.
Okay, okay,
So,
okay.
and so literally I have a deep connection with God, and I do try to honor that through my
Mhm,
books. But at the same time, I try to be authentic with the story that I'm telling as
mhm,
well. Now, I try to use as few curse words as possible. I really try not to use any, but
mhm.
sometimes I feel like for a certain character, you're going to need to put something in there
Right,
because it won't feel real.
right.
Um, but yes, so to answer your question, it is a challenge for me at times because I do have those own standards on myself. Like I don't want my book to be difficult for Christians to read. But at the same time, I do want to be authentic to the story. So I do have that in my mind, and I'm thinking about it as I'm writing. But I'm not going to sacrifice the authenticity of a story to stay in the bounds of religion. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that. I like that the way that you put that. And let's talk a little bit about let's talk but that's real though, because you can't and I remember telling one of my clients, and he was telling his story. And I was telling him, I said, I'm not gonna, even with my editing, I may think about this and I come at it from a different lens. I said, I want you to be authentic to you. If that's how you would say it, then or how it's said in that particular environment, you need to say it like that, because like you said, people will be able to tell that, be like, oh, nah, that ain't. People will definitely be able to tell, be like, nah, you know what, nah, that's not, that's not how somebody sounds,
exactly.
in that particular way. So I appreciate you saying that and being that way. Now, I want you, if we can you talk about or give those that are authors or aspiring authors, can you give them just a couple of steps, like 3 steps to building a character or characters in your book? What was it that how did you excuse me, can you talk a little bit about how you go about, because you said it took you 8 months to write this particular novel. How do you go about building those characters that you're looking to create?
Sorry, I got a call. So how do I?
Now go ahead. You did. Oh, okay. You want me to repeat it? Did you hear what you couldn't hear me?
Something went wrong.
Okay, because I can hear you. Because you sound fine. Yeah, because you're good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm gonna take my earphones out.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I can hear you.
No, what I was asking you is, can you give those aspiring authors that are looking to maybe write a novel, can you just talk about 3 steps? Can you give them 3 steps? How to, these 3 kind of beginning steps to building a character or characters in a book? Because you talked about how long it took you to write your particular novel. How does one go about building a character or a character for a particular novel?
Yes. Okay, that's a really good question. So I like to think about it this way. Think about, okay, so before you do anything in writing a story, you need to know what your premise is. So you need to know what it is you want to write about. And so once you have that, you want to think about your premise as a party. So close your eyes and just imagine that premise playing out as a party. So whatever it is that's going on is a party. Now at this point, you get a full image of what it is you want. So from there, who's at the center? Who is the guest of honor? Who drives all of the action at this party? That person, that standout person, that's your main character. So once you've identified your main character, now from that point, it makes it easier to identify your supporting characters. So now you want to make your guest list for this party.
Okay.
So you got your main character. Now, who are your main character's friends? Who helps who's their guidance? Their source of guidance. Who's their family? Who are those fixtures in their life that help them to get from point A to point B? Because you know what the story is that you're trying to tell. To get through that transformational moment that you're trying to get them to. Who are the team that you need around them? So you identify all of that. Now you need to identify who's the challenges. Because there needs to be a challenge. There always has to be some sort of conflict. It doesn't have to be physical. It doesn't even have to be mental. It can be emotional. It can be spiritual. But there has to be some type of conflict. So you need to identify the sources of the conflict. whether it be one individual or maybe it's a team of characters. So now that you've identified all of those characters and given them names, now what you want to do is you want to assign them roles. Everybody's come to your party. What do they do at the party? So now you need to pretty much think about, what I like to do is think about people that you know in your life, or people that you enjoy to see on television, or people that you enjoy to see in movies, those strong characters, the ones that stick out to you. So as you're going through your character list, start to assign them those people. You can put up to 2 or 3 people there, because sometimes it helps you to craft a single personality by pulling from different personalities. So, just throughout that list, just list out personalities that you do know from your reality or from things that you've seen. And so from that point, what you're doing is you're crafting a voice. You're crafting a personality for that character, because the voice is one thing that's very important, especially for a novel, because you got to think about, when you write chapter 1, it might be 7, 8 months, 2 years, 3 years later before you write the last chapter. So in order for you to keep that voice consistent, you need to know these characters. You have to, even though they're false characters, they're fake, they're fiction, you need to, for you, they have to be real while you're going through that process. And so now you have your guest list, you've assigned them roles. And once you know these characters, once you feel like you know them all, these are people that are really in your head. Now you can sit down and you can start writing with confidence, because one thing I'll say is, you never have any issues recalling your mother's voice as opposed to recalling your sister's voice. It's always going to be distinct in your head because you know them. That's the same way I want you to feel about your characters. And so, yeah, that's my little tip for writing characters.
And I like that, and I love that, because I've had other authors who have talked about writing fiction, being fictional writers, writing novels. The characters, you tell me if this is true for you too, that the characters take on a personality of their own. They become these living, breathing big folks that you are in conversation with, because you're like, well, what would they do next? Or this, that? Was that the same
yes yes For me, that's the fun part.
Okay.
Because literally, okay, so when you get into dialogue and these characters are conversing, having conversations back and forth, one of the things that's fun is, like, you literally, from one line to the next, you're switching personalities. So you have to really be on it. It is acting. It is acting in a sense, because, and I've taken acting classes to perfect dialogue. Yes, because it is acting, is improv. That's another thing I suggest to any author. If you want to improve your dialogue, take improv classes, take acting 101. It definitely helps you, because one thing you're doing is you're in a scene, but you're the only person in the scene, but you have to be 2, 3, 4 people at a time. And so you need to be able to switch, and it helps. And but yes, the characters, in a sense, they become real while you're writing them.
Right. I love that, man. I love it. Yeah. And that is certainly, like I said, that's been what has been, what I've heard most of the other authors that have written out, they've said to me. And even in the nonfiction arena that I'm in, you still get the same kind of, it takes on a personality of its own as you're writing, because you can have in mind, you can have it all what it's supposed to be, and you be like, you get into it, and when you finish, you be like, this looks nothing like what I thought it would be.
That's true.
What it was true. Turn out to.
Yeah. So, because it's coming from you, and so that's why you're so, like you said, even because that's why a lot of times I tell people to pull from real, very real things within your life. Even if you pull it from a character in your favorite book, you don't have to worry about, if you're really doing it and you're really sticking to the process, you don't have to worry about plagiarism, because you already have a distinct premise. You have a distinct premise and you have a distinct mind. You're a complete individual. So one thing that's funny is, like, if I was to pretend to be Dr. Leroy, I'm not going to be you exactly the way you are. I'm going to be you the way I see you.
Right.
And so it's not going to be a direct copy of you. It'll be my perspective. And so once you imitate these personalities, they really do, like you said, they become their own.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's now. Let me ask you this. Now, is it important for authors to only write in one genre, or someone like you that says, you know what, I can write in these different types of genres? Should somebody say, well, I'm going to be known for this? Can it hurt your brain if you write more than one, or is that kind of diversifies your brain?
This is, I think you should do what serves your purpose. So it's gonna be so the one thing that's suggested is that you stick to one genre. You become a genre writer and you stick to that one genre and you stay with it. I think because of the thing is because you want to establish a brand. So the easiest way to do that is, now I'm a science fiction writer, or I'm a horror writer, or but I think people are a little bit more complex than that. And I think stories are a lot more complex than that, because you also have subgenres. And so, so even though you might have 10 different books, all 10 different genres, 9 out of 10 times you're going to have a subgenre within them that kind of all comes together. Like I said, for me, mine is more so family and human connection. And so literally from that becomes your brand. That becomes, but you have to have an awareness of that. So I don't think writing, and my own perspective, I don't think writing in different genres makes it where you cannot market yourself in a certain way or craft a distinct brand. I think you just have to be a little bit more complex in your approach. Break your book down into those subgenres and then find that commonality within the subgenres. But some people may want, like, if you see yourself as a horror writer, only thing you like to write is horror, stick to horror. It's all about your own personal journey. You just have to. You can't apply generic rules to your personal journey. You have to take your journey and make the rules work for you. That's the best way. That's my advice as far as that. So it's all about what works for you.
Yeah, and I also think too, especially when it comes to branding, and even from a business perspective, when you think about the more diverse you are, the more of a target audience, a wider the target audience becomes for you.
Yes.
Yes. Because if, like you said, your children's book, that's going to grab a certain audience. The science fiction is going to grab a certain audience. Your romantic is going to grab a certain audience. And they each, to me, I'm quite sure you can probably talk about this more than I could, but in each of those books, they know that target audience knows you for that. And then they become to say, well, wow, okay, he writes more than children's books. Well, let me see what these other books are about. Let me see what. So it gives you. It does, to me. It gives you diversity, and it gives you multiple streams, multiple target audiences that you can bring into, like you said, that one commonality, which is the whole plan. So, so I appreciate that.
Yes, because that definitely is the thought process in it, because you write a children's book. 20 years from now, the readers of those children's books are going to be adults. So now they're looking for a whole different genre. So they can still stick to their favorite author. Or sometimes you got a more of a urban type novel, but then somebody, our tastes switch throughout life, throughout circumstances. Now that person may be looking for a love story. I have that too. You can stick to your favorite author. So yeah.
Yeah, no, and I like that. I like that. So what's next for you? What you got? What you got? What you got cooking? You got anything that you cooking? You have anything that's coming up that you want to talk to the people, tell the people, let the people know about?
Yes, so I am developing my very first comic book.
Mm.
Um, yes, I'm very excited about it. You can look on my social media to see some of the images because I'm also writing a novel. So
Okay.
I'm sticking to my novels. It'll be a
Mhm.
novel on this same subject, the same character, but I'm also going to do a comic book also to kind of um, pair with the novel
Mhm.
because it's something I've never done before,
Okay.
and I am enjoying providing images now.
Mm.
I think it's getting me closer to that goal of film. But yes, but I look for that. I have another novel and a comic book coming. Hopefully by the end of the year, if not by the end of the year, early in the next year. But I'm trying to perfect it because I'm very excited about the story. It pulls from Black history,
Oh
and
wow.
it puts
Okay.
a big emphasis on our history, which is something that has become very important to me in recent years because I feel like in schools we're not taught our history. And so as an adult, I've begun to seek it on my own. And as I'm learning, I'm like, wow, we have some really great and fascinating and amazing history. Like,
Yeah.
and I want other people to have that feeling too. So that's what this story means for me. But I'm doing it in a way that's very fun, very entertaining. You won't even be able to tell it's medicine that you're taking because it's a wild ride.
I like
So
that.
yes.
Now, have you found the going into the comic book genre? Is that something that's still because I mean, back when when I was younger, comic books were a big thing. Have you
Right.
found that? Have you found that to still kind of that they have that staying power and still
Yeah.
relevant now?
Yes. I say even more so.
Really? Okay.
Um, yeah, because I think when we were growing up, it was very niche.
Mhm.
You want to go for that nerd scene or the black nerd scene. Now, because of the movies and everything, everybody's into this stuff now. They might not all read the comic books, but
Right.
one thing I've noticed, if they're not reading the comic books, they're watching their favorite YouTuber talk about the comic books.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
they're still patronizing that content in some other form. So I think it's as you say, it's a much wider net now,
I
much
like
wider net.
I like that. So if you can, I want you to give before we close out, I want you to give people your contact information. How can they connect with you? How can they purchase the book, that dance they do, and any of the other books that you have as well?
Yes, scriboy.com is my website, scribboy.com. scribboy.com. Scriboy.com, that's my website. jtyler1985 at live.com, that's my email. You can contact me that way. And also go to my Amazon author page, amazon.com/author/J.E. Tyler. That's amazon.com/author/J.E. Tyler. And literally all of my books are there. You can get my bio, anything you need to know about me, and yeah, on my website, links to my social media, so you can find me that way as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, brother, this has been a phenomenal conversation that
Thank
we've
you.
had. I want to thank you for being a part of the Author Showcase and bringing us a part of us in our community that we don't see a whole lot of. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm always happy to have authors like you that aren't saying, that say, hey, I want to do something different than what everybody else is doing. I want people to kind of see us in this different light to show, because it shows the diversity in our creativity,
Yes.
and how we're able to create from science fiction all the way to a romantic comedy novel and everything.
Yes.
You can have everything in between to be able
Yes.
to, to be able to bring the folks. So I appreciate you for doing that and not being afraid to do it and saying, you know what, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I do. You all are going to, you all will appreciate it. You all will like it. You are going to be, entertained by it. And at the same time, you're going to learn something, a little something from it too. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So,
yes.
so I appreciate you taking time out today. One more time, if you can give your contact information for people that want you to come out. And
Yes. Yes, you can email me, jtyler1985 at live.com for any speaking engagements. Even if you want a creative writing seminar, I have done those and I love to do it. I'm still trying to build on that. So
okay.
I welcome all bookings on that, or just you want me to come and speak to children. I do, I do low, I speak on history, Black history, African history. So anything that you may, or just an author to motivate or to inspire. And like I said, scriboy.com, scribboy.com, scriboy.com, and amazon.com/author/J.E. Tyler, Tyler.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. J.E. Tyler. You can catch him in the current episode, the current issue of the National Black Unity News. Right there, right there, right there. You can see him. You can go to the website www.tnbun.com. Make sure you subscribe to the newspaper. Like I mentioned, it's a quarterly newspaper that you can have delivered right to your door. You can go to our YouTube channel and you can check out all the other episodes, all the other authors that we've had that have been a part of this, of the author showcase. Folks like J.E. Tyler, who are just absolutely phenomenal, are doing things that are touching us from a literary perspective and just giving us some good reads, some good books to be able to read. And we want y'all to get to those 30 books a year as well, too. We're trying to get people to read more, man, because we want people to have those, to have that tool in their toolkit, because the more you read, the mind is a muscle and you got to exercise it. The more you exercise it, the more you read it. And this reading thing will take you places that you just absolutely be like, oh, wow, I never thought I could go to these particular places. And you enjoy them. You enjoy it. You can enjoy them and have some fun with it, and then grow as you see your favorite author, like a J.E. Tyler. You can move, like he said. You can grow as they grow. As we did with music as well too, because our favorite artists when we were younger, we still see them now and everything like that too. But we get to see them as they improve, progress, and give us more of what they love to do. So we appreciate you. We appreciate you joining us. We appreciate you for what you do, and we appreciate you coming on to the Author Showcase. This has been another episode, you all. And as I said, I learned something each and every time that I come on. So we thank y'all for joining in, for tuning in with us, and we will see you all next time. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Thank you.